Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
What is going on, Canes fam? I am Batty Ice. He is Caniacs, and he is Chris, joining us for the first time, the inaugural episode. How are you doing tonight, Chris? Are you excited? I think both me and Caniacs are super excited to have you.
Ooh.
So
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you having me come on here and join the team, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you may know, Chris runs a very popular Instagram page. It is known as 5x National Champs. That's 5x_national_champs. Can't believe I said that in all one breath. But we are super stoked to have him. You know, we had him on, I want to say, was it about a month ago?
It was, yeah.
A month ago? Okay. And we just love the chemistry. We've been talking ever since. And, you know, we just really wanted to make this happen. So, I mean, I think all three of us are very excited to get this thing rolling. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming out, right?
We do. Yeah. So the next few months, we got tons of guests. We got everything lined up. We're booked 3 months out. So this is going to be a fun little journey.
Yeah, man. We're in high demand here. Okay.
That's it. We are.
So, I kind of wanted to shift gears and start off with something. There's big news over the weekend, Saturday. Former Miami Hurricane coach and just Florida sports legend Howard Schnellenberger died at the age of 87. And, you know, he was the one that was really responsible for bringing the football program back to, well, not back to glory, but bringing it to glory. Yeah. With that first championship. And, you know, it's to be said that he's the one that really laid the foundation for those other championships as well. So, I mean, rest in peace. You know, he's a huge figure in Florida sports, so, and a Hall of Famer. So we just wanted to say that to start the show, and so rest in peace. But
absolutely, rest in peace, Coach. Because in 1983 is when I became a Hurricanes fan. That was the season that I watched. I was 13 years old, living in Missouri, and man, just loved everything about the Canes. So that I mean, I was originally from Tampa. Dad was in the military, anyways, but. I mean, that's when I fell in love with the Canes, and I've been a Canes fan ever since, highs and lows. So rip, Shelly, rip, man. I mean, it's just, wow. Yeah.
Well, and think about this too. So, you know, Coach Schnellenberger, he's the one that created the state of Miami. So when you talk about Broward, Dade, Palm Beach County, this is the guy that locked it down and really changed the face of how we did recruiting and really took that, you know, that first national championship. That was recruiting in-state kids and bringing that type of recruiting where we can stay home and get the kids to go to the University of Miami.
Yeah, I-4 down.
I think I remember. Do you guys remember? I think it was from the 30 for 30. The story of he would like leave his pipe at recruits' houses and then come back for it. I thought that was so hilarious. What a baller, man!
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So before we kind of get into more Kane stuff, I just wanted to bring up our bracket challenge. I just wanted to say I think Owl fan is still in first. Jazz fan Zach is in second. Just wanted to bring that up. Yeah,
James is in third.
James is in third. I think those guys that are from second to like 6 all picked Gonzaga, so I don't know how that's going to work out points wise. But as you know, winner gets the $100 Caneswear gift card. Second place gets the 51, and then each person gets a shirt, which we're going to have to redesign because we need to add Chris's name to it.
Chris's name.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so for the first time ever, Chris, are you ready to do your 305 check-in with us?
Let's do it. Let's do it. What do we got, guys?
Yeah. So, guys, I kind of wanted to start on a topic that I don't really want to talk about, but we have to talk about because it's kind of big news, and that's Canes basketball. We're gonna have to update that video that you did, Robert, because half those guys already transferred. So we might have to get on that. So
I may have to take all the basketball team off of there for now until we find one.
I know. I kept updating the notes for this section like every day. I was just like, okay, well, Nasir Brooks is gone, Chris Likes is gone, Elijah Oluni is gone, and it's gotten to the point where I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I really think that there's something behind the scenes going on. It's not just the fact that we had a poor season. There's something that had to have happened, because what happened with Matt Cross during the middle of the season, Earl Timberlake leaving like as soon as the season ends, there's something going on. I think right now we have like 3 guys that are on roster for sure. So I don't know if there needs to be, I mean, I do think there needs to be a coaching change. So I mean, that's all I'm going to say about it, because there's not really
if there
much
isn't
else
a
to
coaching,
say.
right? If there isn't a coaching change, I mean,
I don't know how they're going to have a team.
Yeah, I mean, how are we going to have a team? I mean,
they're going to have to get a bunch of JUCO transfers or something. I have no idea.
I love Coach L, but man, it's just time. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah. So I saw the players transferring out, and then Likes saying that he was opting out to go to the draft, and then now he's going to transfer. So yeah, looks like trouble's a brewing.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Absolutely. So moving on to another sport, I think it's a sport that we thought was going to be going better because they were looking good, but we're going to be talking about the Heat. You ready to do our Dos Minutos?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So guys, the Heat did acquire a new player. I'm not sure if you guys saw, right at the deadline, they acquired Victor Oladipo, who's a solid, I would say fringe all-star, not quite an all-star, but almost at that level. And I think he's going to fit really well next to Jimmy Butler. I think people don't realize he's a pretty decent three-point shooter. That's one of the major knocks on him that usually people reference, but I think, it'll be fine. And I mean, they barely gave up anything for him. They traded Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and then they swapped a first-round draft pick that was I think it's not even projected to be, because I don't think it's theirs. So I don't even think it's going to actually happen, the swap. So I mean, absolute steal. I think he's going to help them immensely. They had lost 6 games in a row, and they won last night against the Knicks by 10. So hopefully they can get it going. Oladipo
The Knicks are on fire right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on. What's in the water that Julius Randle is drinking? That guy has been having an insane season. They kind of had some other acquisitions. They traded for I forget his first name, but it's that guy from the Kings, Bjelica. They traded Mo Harkless and Chris Silva. So the 2 guys that they signed during the offseason, Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless, are both gone. I mean, I think that they expected more from those guys. So that's just kind of what happened in that scenario. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the Heat front. They're 23-24 overall now. I think they still look solid. I think they're still going to make the playoffs and be a pretty high seeding, and I would not want to play them if I was another team in the East.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
I agree with that.
So, we need to touch base on. We need to address Canes baseball. Caniacs, what were the results for that?
They won Friday. They won
Okay.
Friday. I don't remember all the stats. I didn't have time to do it today, but I know they won
Yeah.
Friday. They lost Saturday. They were losing on Sunday, and then they came back and had a hell of an inning, and then they finally won 4-2. So they won another series. So that's good.
Okay. So, are you guys ready for a new segment that we are introducing to the world?
Let's rock and roll, baby.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
That's awesome.
That's T. Robin, man, you're looking good.
Right?
Man, dude, I know. I love it. I love the look. So big news recruiting wise. There was news today, obviously, that isn't the best, but I want to kind of touch on the Ja'Cory Brown commitment. Chris, how big is this for this class?
Yeah, dude. So Ja'Cory Brown, number 5 dual threat quarterback in the nation. He's 6'4", 215. This is a guy that developed a great relationship with Rhett Lashley. And believe it or not, Rhett Lashley even talks to his mom more than he does every week. So he's all about relationships. And when you think about a guy that he's ran for 3,300 yards, he's passed for 3,300 yards over the last 3 years. This is a guy with 72 total touchdowns, 14 picks, and that's over 3 years. So, I mean, he's got some serious numbers. The one knock that most people give on him is his completion percentage last year, which was like a 47.8. So a 48% completion percentage, not that hot. If you want to talk about something as far as like a reference point, Jake Garcia this last year, starting out at Valdosta and then Grayson, his completion percentage was 10% higher than that. So 58% completion percentage, for a guy like Jake Garcia. But he led his team to a 10-2 record. So when you talk about 10-2, a lot of people don't know that he had a torn ligament in his thumb. And to lead a team to a 10-2 record, you're a quarterback. I mean, that's a big deal. So a lot of people were kind of like, this guy is a project, a dude that you're going to have to work with as you go along and develop. But really, he blew it up a few weeks ago at the Elite 11. Anybody that's a quarterback, you get invited to the Elite 11. Of course, Tyler Van Dyke did a few years ago. And at the Elite 11, he ran a 4.65 40, 35-inch vert. So, I mean, this is a guy that he's all about relationships. He lives with one of the receivers on his football team right now. And when he came up here just a couple weeks ago, when he came up here for the visit, he came with his 7-on-7 coach and took that tour, did the virtual thing and met with the city leaders and whatnot. And he came with another major Miami target, which is Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond is his 7-on-7 teammate. Isaiah Bond plays for Buford down in Georgia, and everybody should know that name. That's a Georgia powerhouse. Jess Simpson was the coach there for many, many years. So Isaiah Bond, 3-star kid. But if you want to put Isaiah Bond into perspective, the reason everybody wants this guy and the reason he's blowing up the charts is because he's a cornerback in college. If you look at 247 composite, he's a cornerback. However, out of his top 5, and Miami's in that top 5, every school is recruiting him as a receiver except for Alabama. Alabama wants him as DB. It's what he plays in high school. But this is a dude that runs the 100 meters in 10.6. And if you want to say how fast is that, well, that's about 1 second slower than the world record, which is 9.58. So a 10.6 100 meter, your average guy is going to run 100 meters in 13 to 14 seconds. So this dude's a blazer. This will be, I think, reminiscent of what we saw when Jake Garcia signed on. Is you're going to see Ja'Cory Brown recruit people and recruit his offensive weapons that he wants to join him in the class. So, I mean, major get. So, we'll see what happens with that. What else we got down the list on recruiting roundup?
Well, I mean, I think it's huge. Just kind of backtracking on one thing you said, the fact that he wants to recruit for his class, that's a big deal, don't you think?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you got to build your weapons, and as of today, he's the only dude that's in the class right now. There's a couple big things coming up, and that's this Thursday on April 1st. You're going to have Kamari Wilson, who's supposed to make his announcement. That's the number 1 safety in the entire nation. He's out of IMG Academy, so he's supposed to announce where he's committing. And that's, like I said, that's Thursday. But think about it this way. 2 cycles ago, we got Avante Williams, the number 1 safety in the nation. We just got James Williams this last cycle, who's the number 1 safety in the nation. So if you have a chance to come and play for and be around the greatest safety that's probably ever played in the National Football League, why don't we stack the 3 number 1 safeties in a row and land Kamari Wilson here on Thursday? The only other thing I got to add to that is on Saturday, the other Kamari Rogers, is going to be announcing his top 5. Kamari Rogers is the number 7 corner in the entire nation. He's the number 1 player in all of Mississippi, and he's going to be announcing his top 5. So we'll see where that goes.
Absolutely. Some receivers I kind of wanted to bring up that scheduled official visits. I don't know how familiar you are with the names and stuff, but Jaden Gibson confirmed that he's going to have a visit in June. And then Isaiah Horton, who's a 6'3", 4-star from Tennessee. Do you see any of those names landing in this class out of those 2 guys? Or
I think when you look at when dudes come on campus for visits, and we know the dead period ends on May 30th. So we're going to see people schedule those visits for June. We have to see how the visits go. And I mean, it's hard to say, when people want to schedule their visits, I don't know if they max out at 5 or how many official visits you got. You can do unofficials, of course, but we'll see how things play out after the visit, because the visits tell a lot. Yeah,
absolutely. So do you guys want to shift over from recruiting to talk about the pressers on last Friday?
Well,
yeah, Brad
go for
it. Got this call. Brad DeHater put in, don't forget Colin Hurley.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Names dropping left and right.
So last Friday, I kind of spoke about it. Mike Harley, I think, was talked to the press, and then who was Navon Donaldson. The reason why I wanted to bring this up was Mike Harley had some comments specifically about Mark Pope, basically calling him like a little brother and that he's like a mentor to him.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. This kind of explains a lot to me, because I mean, if you're a junior and you have like a mentor, well, isn't he a senior actually now? He's coming in as a senior.
Harley, I believe, yeah.
No. Mark Pope.
Yeah,
this will be his senior year, right?
Yeah, I think Pope was Storm 18. He was Storm 18.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one thing if you call someone an older brother too, versus someone calls you a little brother. I feel like there's a little nudge there. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think everybody, thinks it's a confidence thing with Mark Pope, and surely, that's what you've heard Manny Diaz say multiple times, that it's a confidence thing. So, we'll see. I saw the presser. Harley said it's all mental. It's all mental for Mark Pope, and it's tough. I see people bagging on him, on Twitter all the time and saying, how can it be all mental for you when you're in your senior year? Maybe it should be all mental when you're a freshman. But I don't think you can underestimate him. This dude was an All-American. This dude was damn near a 5-star. Right underneath 5-star. So I think the book will be written on Mark Pope after this season, and then that'll be it. We'll know the legacy of what Mark Pope was.
Absolutely. And so Navon Donaldson also addressed the media too. I thought it was interesting. He answered a lot of questions about his diet and how in shape he was and stuff. Mike Harley even said something like, "I've never seen him be so mobile before, not even since his freshman year." So how excited are you guys to see him out on the field? I think he's someone who can, tear it up and can perform at a high level this season. What do you guys think?
That's a people mover. He's a people mover. I mean, if we're gonna get that run game going, he's got to be in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you talk about him moving from left guard over to right guard, we'll see what happens at the left guard, whether it's Ja'Kai Clark or maybe you get Jalen Rivers, who's a dude that I've been high on ever since his All-American season a couple years ago. So we'll see how that pans out. But, I mean, talk about an experienced O-line, and that's the best thing you can have on the offensive side of the football.
Absolutely. So, boys, we got to talk about one of the more recent events, Miami Pro Day, man. Is Jalen Phillips cementing himself as the number 1 defensive end over Greg Rousseau in your mind, or what? What do you guys think? Based on that performance.
Well, we know he's fast.
Yeah, I would say that.
Holy
yeah.
Cow. And then on his pro day conference, he said that he's faster than that. He's ran faster than that in practice. So, man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about a 4.56 40 time, which I guess was the official, this is going to be the first time in 15 years that you're going to have two defensive ends get taken in the first round. That last happened in 2006 with NC State. Mm-hmm. So you got a guy like Jalen Phillips that runs that 4.56. This is faster, believe it or not. And I put this out on social media yesterday. That 4.56 is faster than any D lineman ran the 40 in last year's combine. So no D lineman in the 2020 NFL draft ran faster than 4.56. So, I mean, wow. that tells you everything you need to know. I even wrote a little note here. As far as his 40 time, that 4.56 was in the 95th percentile of what people at his position run a 40. His 125-inch broad jump was in the 92nd percentile. And that 4.13 short shuttle was in the 94th percentile. So, I mean, this dude's a freak. And I think probably not playing in 2020 did hurt Greg Rousseau when you see a dude coming fresh off a season, putting up these numbers. He was second in the conference with 8 sacks this year, Jalen Phillips. But then you look back at Greg Rousseau, and this dude had 15.5 sacks 2 years ago, which is second best all time at UM. So, I don't know. Jalen Phillips is an absolute freak, and he earned himself a ton of money yesterday.
Oh, I did.
Also, too, just to mention, too, the physical measurements of Greg Rousseau. He's like literally a monster. Like his hand measure, I think this is like 11 inches, and then his wingspan 83 and a quarter. Like that's insane.
Absolutely, he's a freak.
6'7", and he gained like, didn't he gain like 75 pounds or something?
Yeah,
and,
it was
he's faster. And then he's faster than when he measured when he was timed in like 2016 or something. It's insane. Way heavier
and way faster.
Yeah. So, did anyone kind of stick out? Maybe their draft stock might be affected the other way to you, Chris, or do you think everyone pretty much like is at least like settled in their position? Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think they tested out pretty good. I don't think Brevin was happy with his 4.64 on the 40, and he stated afterwards that he wasn't too happy with the 40. But I think Roche tested about where he was supposed to. Greg's numbers look good, and we'll kind of see how things play out. The question is going to be is 2 first-round picks in Jalen and Greg Rousseau is when is someone going to pick up Quincy Roche? And just like Brevin said, I'm an offensive coordinator's dream, man. I can block, I can be a linebacker in coverage. You put anybody else on me, I can burn them. So we'll see, man. I hope Brevin goes second or third. I think it'd be a travesty if he fell past the 3rd round.
Absolutely. So guys, you ready here to shift gears and bring Paul on, or what?
Let's bring in the man. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. And
what is going on?
Thanks for having me on, guys. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. That voice you are hearing right now is Paul from Paul Scoop on the U. And Paul, I believe you have a new podcast, right?
Yeah, I was selected to be the host of the Believe in the U, which is a part of the Believe Podcast Network. It's the inaugural Miami Hurricanes football podcast on their network. So just extremely grateful for the opportunity and grateful to be on here with you guys as well to talk some Canes football.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the last time we had you on, or the last time we talked was before basketball season, at least the last time I talked to you. And obviously we know how that's gone. But, but yeah, man. We wanted to do something a little fun here. We wanted to do a little game with you about some like major spring stories. So if we want to get into this, you ready, Caniacs?
Yeah, you want to do the hype stuff?
Let's do it. Okay, Paul, you ready to play all hype or sounds right? Basically, the whole point is, oh damn, you're about to play the music.
It keeps changing on me. There we go. I'll get it down.
The whole idea is we're going to go over some spring topics, and you're going to tell us if you think this is something that's all hype or it's something that you can see rationally happening this season.
All right, let's do it. Sounds good.
And Chris, feel free to answer too. We want you guys to answer these and get your thoughts on these.
Yeah.
So, major news, Zach McLeod and the whole move to defensive end. Jess Simpson last week had comments that he was pleasantly surprised with his progression. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Do you think this is hype? Do you think this sounds right? Is Zach McLeod going to start? What do you think?
Who wants to go first?
Paul, you go first. You're the guest.
You got it,
Paul.
You got it,
I
Paul.
think it's all hype, man, to be honest. Like, this is just typical offensive talk. Like, look, man, I see Zach McLeod as like a rotating player in the defensive end, providing depth. I don't see him being elite defensive end, man. It's like his 6th year of college football. You're already making a position change this late in your career. I think it's just to boost his confidence up because we're going to need him. We are going to need him at the defensive end position. And I just ultimately, I don't think he's going to be a star player at that position, the ACC level.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Yeah. So I'm with Paul on this one. I mean, if you make a position switch this late in your career, I mean, that's tough. You know, you're going to defensive end, and this is the first time you played that position, and you're going to have to deal with DeAndre Johnson and Jafari and Cam Williams and Chance Williams, dudes that have played that position for a very long time. So I'm going to go with this is all hype. Absolutely.
Okay, next topic we have for you. Be careful with this one because there's some real supporters of this guy. Tyler Van Dyke, the Green Tree All-American. All hype, or what do you think here?
God, I haven't even seen this guy play a regular season game or 4 games.
It doesn't matter, Paul.
Until it's on the field. You know, it's all hype. I got to see it in a regular season game. So as of right now, it's all hype.
You're not being a Miami Hurricane fan right now, Paul.
It's the off season, man.
Yeah. So for me, it's the same thing. You're only going to get to see either Tyler Van Dyke or Jake Garcia if it's a blowout or something happens to De'Aaron. So we will not maybe even know it all in the 2022 season or 21. We won't even know it all if this is all hype or sounds right. So I'm going to go with all hype because we might not even get the proof in the pudding.
Man, we might get all hype for these. I'm kind of worried. Next one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save this one for last because I think it's a good one. Next one. Corey Flagg starting this season.
Oh,
you know,
that sounds right. That sounds
okay.
right.
I didn't even have to say anything else. Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. That sounds right. Absolutely. I mean, Manny Diaz, whoever's calling the defense this year, Coach Shoup, Coach Diaz, I mean, they'd have to be out of their mind not to start Corey Flagg. I'm sorry. I mean, even the offseason talk, I mean, they're hyping him up to stating he's making huge strides this entire offseason. I think we got a little taste of what he can do this past season. And, you know, coming out of high school, there were local Houston beat reporters stating Miami got a steal on Corey Flagg. He's going to be a great player at the next level. He is the real deal. In his 2nd year of college football, under Coach Feely's strength and conditioning program, no, I'm expecting him to make a huge impact.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 100%. This is definitely sounds right, and Paul's right when he says this dude's star ranking did not match the potential of what we have in a Corey Flagg. Corey Flagg will be starting at linebacker against Alabama. This is definitely sounds right.
Okay, absolutely. Next one of my favorite Miami Hurricane players and someone that we're gonna have on next week. Xavier Restrepo, he's going to have a breakthrough season. Is this all hype? Sounds right. He had a big spring game. I know that happened last season. What are your guys' thoughts? I know how Paul feels about, picking guys that didn't really play necessarily that much.
God,
what are your thoughts?
Just to be for right now, I'm going to say all hype. Here's my reason why. Jeremiah Payton, when he stepped on University of Miami's campus, his spring game, he did a phenomenal job. He got a lot of snaps. I think he was one of the leading receivers in that game. Could be wrong. The spring game in Orlando. I got to see it in the regular season. Will he even be involved in the rotation? Maybe we're just putting him there. Remember, Mike Harley, he didn't get a lot of snaps as well. Manny Diaz has a seniority issue. Maybe he'll continue playing Mark Pope and D. Wiggins, Charleston Rambo, Mike Harley. Maybe those guys are going to get the first snaps throughout the season during the game. I think they're going to put Xavier Restrepo in the game, in a lot of games, that punt return in positions to contribute to the offense. But at the same time, man, we've seen this all the time in the offseason where players put up gaudy video game numbers, and then during the season, it doesn't translate. So I'm going to say all hype for right now, but I would not be in shock if he does have a breakout season.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
So I'm gonna go opposite of Paul on this. I talked to X quite a bit actually on Instagram, and so I actually got a chance to interview him last summer. And if you remember, just like Paul said, last summer in the first 2 scrimmages, he was at 7 receptions, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. And we do say, Greentree All-Americans about these cats that roll out on the practice field. But one scrimmage in, more touchdowns, or the same amount of touchdowns, more catches, more yards. I think when you put him in the slot, there's just no way you can keep this dude on the bench. And I'll touch on the Jeremiah Payton thing when we do Chris's confidential connection later in the show. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, absolutely. So last one that I want to touch on, I saved the best for last. Mike Harley in his presser last Friday said that Mark Pope has been practicing a lot better since he's been playing in the slot. Does he make a bigger impact this season? Paul, let me know. I don't know how to judge it based on your facial expressions, but let's see what you got here.
I can answer this. It sounds right if you keep Mark Pope in the slot specifically. Do not put him on the outside. His skill set coming out of high school, he is a fast wide receiver. That's what got him that 4-star bump because of his speed. You put him at the slot primarily. That's what he is made for. If you just keep him at the slot, he'll be fine. I think he can do great things. You got to boost up his confidence. It's a mental thing with Mark Pope going on. They don't put him on the outside. So yes, I think he can excel a lot more if you put him strictly at the slot. So that does sound right.
Yeah. Me and Paul are in agreement on this one. I say sounds right for Mark Pope this year. If you keep him away from the Z and you keep him away from the X, you put him in the slot. I think we'll see a big year out of Mark Pope because there's really no other way to go, right? And I talked to you guys about it 3 weeks ago when I was on. D. Wiggins and Mark Pope led the conference in drop percentage. Led the conference. So you can't do any worse than that. And I think year 2 in Rhett Lashley offense with a full spring, you're going to see a better Mark Pope this year. Absolutely.
I beg to differ. You can do worse than that. You can do more than just a conference. You could do an entire college football.
That's true.
But
true.
Let's not have those thoughts, guys.
We're not having those thoughts.
That was the last one. Ready to move on. I wanted to break down the spring game and get your guys' overall thoughts on it. That was the kind of the hot topic on Twitter and everything. So in terms of quarterback play, TVD, Jake Garcia, looks like they both kind of had pretty solid days. The one thing I wanted to say, though, is I know there was 2 interceptions recorded, but I don't think we know who those were attributed to. I know that this is very limited. We don't really know. I think TVD was going against the 1s and Jake was going against the 2s, but I'm not 100% sure how true that is. But what were your guys' overall thoughts on the QB play when you look at the stats and everything?
I mean, I thought it was very impressive. Jake Garcia has been at University of Miami for one semester, 15 out of 19, 188 passing yards. Tyler Van Dyke as well. Something I noticed, when has the quarterback room been this deep at Miami? There was a time where we had our primary 4-star, highly touted recruit at the quarterback position. Everybody else was a project, like not even 3-star. I mean, Malik Rozier, was he barely even a 3-star, for example? Guys like Cade Weldon, I mean, basically we took him because of Mark Richt's connection with his father, ultimately, taking a gamble on him. But, going back to even Ja'Cory Harris, you got your Robert Marv years, and then what's the guy's name? Taylor Cook and Cannon Smith. Don't ask me why I even remember that name. But, we're very deep, in talent-wise, and I think that's a great sign moving forward. And I think it's great that we actually have a quarterback developer with Rhett Lashley overseeing these guys, and you're seeing the fruits of the labor, taking place. And this, keep in mind, guys, this is really fighting it out for the backup role. De'Aaron King's going to be our starter, so I think we're in a great situation this spring at the quarterback position, and Miami's never looked better, honestly, at the quarterback position.
Chris, what are your overall thoughts?
I think so too. Yeah, absolutely. Just the players that Paul just mentioned. This is the deepest, 4 deep. If you count Matocha, this is the deepest that it's been. Certainly that I can remember, and I've been a Canes fan since '93. This is the deepest quarterback room. And like I said before, this is an audition for who's going to be QB1 next year. So with De'Aaron out, you're going to see how these guys ball. You're going to see 1 year in the program, TVD going against a guy that's the highest rated Canes QB recruit since Kyle Wright and Jake Garcia, and you're going to see who has the leg up. I think we're going to know a lot more in 3 weeks, certainly going into fall camp.
Okay. Kind of shifting gears. I know the run game was kind of limited. The defensive line actually played pretty well, apparently. What are your guys' overall thoughts? I know Don Chaney had a long run. He had 52 yards and a touchdown. Don Chaney for running back number 1 or what? What are your guys' thoughts?
Absolutely.
I would hope so. I feel like the offense moved a lot better with him as a running back. I've been stating this the past few shows I've been on. I would like whoever is our starting running back to get the majority of the snaps, 20 carries a game. I hate kind of rotating throughout drives. If someone's hot, give them the ball. Feed them. Ultimately, I feel like if you take guys out of drives, you sit them for a couple drives, they get cold. They're not really in rhythm. So, whoever is running back 1, I want them to get the majority of the carries, and we're very stacked at the running back room. So it'll be very interesting how we share those carries. But yeah, no, Don Chaney should be our starting running back, no doubt.
Yeah, and I've been a Don Chaney dude since Blinn Jesuit, so I'm down with Don Chaney, for the last 2-3 years. And I'm gonna, instead of answering this question, I'm gonna piggyback it onto a second question for Paul, and that is, Paul, do we get our first 1,000-yard running back since 2016 when Mark Walton did it?
And
First time in 5 years.
Chris, that goes back to what I was originally stating, and I'm glad you stated that. To get 1,000-yard running back, you have to give them carries.
Absolutely.
Not 10 carries a game isn't going to get it. That's equating to 10 yards per carry. So you have to give these guys a lot of carries in order to reach that. And that comes with having, your starting running back getting the majority of snaps and not evenly distributing it. So, hey, I think it is possible, Chris, but we need to get Don Chaney 20 to 25 carries a game.
Yeah, and I actually heard Rhett Lashley say, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago, where he said he wants a bell cow running back 1. So he wants the mold of what Paul's describing right now as a workhorse back.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree that Don Chaney can likely fill that role. I want to kind of shift gears. I know we mentioned some of the receivers. We mentioned X. We mentioned Mark Pope. Some of the stats coming out. Obviously, Restrepo had himself a spring game. He played really well. He had 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 catches. What are your guys' overall thoughts on the position? Oh, Mike Harley, 2 catches for 75 yards, and I think he was kind of limited in the scrimmage. What are you guys kind of looking for in this position? Anyone that sticks out that you think can maybe a dark horse or anything? What are your thoughts?
I think Charleston Rambo. I think he's a big workhorse. He's coming from a high-powered offense in Oklahoma. The reason why, it seems like he transferred, he wasn't getting enough targets in their high-powered offense. You put him in ACC Coastal level of play. I mean, look, he's going to thrive on the outside. He's a deep ball threat. That's something we've been missing in our offense. We haven't had in quite a while. This past season, we tried to have D. Wiggins as our deep ball threat. That didn't work out. It can be a recipe for success, and I ultimately think Charleston Rambo can thrive in this offense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe, and hopefully the seniority thing out the window, and we'll kind of see based off production who gets to play. But it's going to be hard to keep Charleston Rambo on the bench, especially the way he can burn through that secondary, just like a Mike Harley, one of our guests that's going to be on this show in a few weeks. And I think when you think about how a Mike Redding or a Jeremiah Payton fits into this offense, these are 2 big body dudes. These are 2 dudes just like a Romello Brinson that when they come in, they're not possession receivers. These are dudes that are going to win 50-50 balls. You don't need to hit them in the numbers with it. Mike Redding is a freak, and so is Jeremiah Payton. So I'll kind of piggyback onto that question again, Matty Ice. And let me say this, Paul. So game 1 of the season against Alabama, we don't know how fall camp's going to go. When you see us line up in our first 4 wide set, what 4 receivers are you running out there?
Okay. So I'm going to say they go with Mark Pope on the inside. They have Charleston Rambo and Mike Harley on the outside. And then I'm going to say they're going to – you know what? They're going to throw in D. Wiggins as well. Like I said, go back to the seniority thing. You have 2 fairly taller receivers, with D. Wiggins, Charleston Rambo. You're going to have Pope and Harley as your speedsters that you can utilize, for shorter routes just to get in the middle of the field. So I think that's what I see. I'm not going to put like an underclassman true freshman in the first drive. I wouldn't do that. Get everyone kind of comfortable in the setting, because your eyes are going to be huge.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, let's talk some defense. Let's talk a little Tyreek Stevenson. Manny Diaz, all reports have been saying he's been good in pass coverage and run support. Two areas that we can definitely improve upon. How big of an impact do you see him making this year?
You stated Manny Diaz, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Manny Diaz as a defensive coordinator, I think it's going to be a complete 180.
Oh no, sorry. I said Tyreek Stevenson. Manny Diaz.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why I heard that was my fault. So I actually, before I came on this show at 6 p.m., I actually had on University of Georgia, kind of covers the team, has a big website. I think Aaron Murray's even a part of their website too. But he basically asked him the question. I was like, hey, like, what do you think about Tyreek Stevenson? He's like, yo, that guy would have been a starter at Georgia this upcoming season. He's a freak athlete. I mean, that's someone you want in pass coverage. Great tackler as well. It's going to be a great transition. He stated coming from the SEC East to the ACC level of play. He even stated he sees Tyreek Stevenson as a potential second-round pick. So I'm very excited, and I think it's going to be a huge impact at Miami.
Okay. Yeah. And if you remember, he picked Georgia over Miami instead of staying home. I mean, this was damn near the number one corner in the nation. I mean, this was a big time. He was 5-star at one point. So him coming into this offense, like to see how it plays out with Blades and see what Ivy can do. But I mean, this is a Manny Diaz led defense now, so this will be a lot different than when Blake Baker ran it. And I wanted to throw a few numbers here at Paul when we talk about a Manny Diaz defense. 2 years ago, the last time that Manny Diaz ran this defense, number one in tackles for loss in the entire nation at 10.5, number one in third down percentage at 25.3%, and number one in yards per game, 135 yards per game. So number one in three categories in the whole defense. So I say, Paul, what do you see the biggest difference that will come out of a Manny Diaz-led defense this year?
Yeah, I mean, those are all great numbers. They had a really good personnel on the defensive side of the football. That D-line had Jonathan Garvin, Joe Jackson, Gerald Willis, if I'm not mistaken. Also had Jaquan Johnson, Michael Jackson, I think Redwine as well. So our personnel is a little bit different. I think we're pretty solid at defensive tackle depth-wise, something we haven't had at Miami. Like Nesta, for example, he's in the best shape of his life. Our DNs, it's a solid group. It's not elite. It's not great. I think it's above average to good in ACC conference play specifically. Like I said, bringing in Tyreek Stevenson is going to be a huge get, and that provides your second team depth at cornerback. I think you're going to see Corey Couch and Tyreek Stevenson on the outside. So you're having more depth at positions, guys. And you're not like elite at any position, but you're solid. You're well-rounded. So this is going to be a solid group, and ultimately I think it's a top 25 defense overall. You got to know your assignments. Ultimately, that's what Colin McCarthy told me when I had him on my show. And you can have great athletes, but if nobody knows their assignments, it's not going to pan out. So if this team, this solid unit we have defensively, knows their assignments and plays sound football, we will have a top 25 defense in Coral Gables.
Absolutely.
Okay. I kind of wanted to talk about a position group that was kind of a struggle last year, the linebacker play. I want to say, what was the stat that Caniacs that we would always say? They averaged 6 tackles together, both the linebackers per game. Was it like 6 or 7, I believe? I know there's a lot of talk about Corey Flagg and how good, how much he's improved and the strides he's making. I feel like every presser someone's talking about him, and I know that there's been talk about Avery Huff too. How much improvement do you realistically expect to see this season?
Is this directed towards me?
Yeah,
man.
And then Chris.
So here's my thing, guys. Maybe this is me venting. I feel like we're limiting Avery Huff's ability at the striker position. That's where he's at, right? Primarily, that was the switch this upcoming season. So you're putting Frierson, you got Keandre Smith, and you got Avery Huff. I think he's a freak athlete. He came from St. Thomas Aquinas Senior High School. He's going to be technically sound with a high football IQ. I think, just putting him at striker, he's not going to develop properly. That's my opinion, but I believe it. Of course he's going to be taking huge strides this season. He's a great football player. That's a reason why he was a 4-star recruit at St. Thomas Aquinas. I think ultimately you can put him at the inside linebacker position if Miami wanted to. So I can see him either at striker or inside linebacker excelling at the next level. I just feel like he's limited at striker. But that's just me venting.
Yeah, so what I had heard was the opposite of what Paul had just said, is that he is playing inside linebacker and Keontra is the backup striker to Gilbert. So I had heard that he is playing inside linebacker. So if you talk about Avery Huff, or you talk about Sam Brooks, or even Bradley Jennings, how much run is he going to get after being your starter last year? I think it's Corey Flagg that's going to be the man in the middle, and he's going to run the show. And then who do you want to put with him on an outside? So Sam Brooks, hell of an athlete, sideline to sideline with that speed. But maybe Avery Huff a little more of a well-rounded linebacker. So we'll see how things play out. I know Bradley Jennings was the lowest graded defender on Miami's defense last year per PFF. So I don't know, man. I mean, I got some young bucks behind him, and Sam Brooks and Avery Huff, and I want them to show out this spring for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. I wanted to talk about two young guys. Their names kind of just came up because they both had an interception in the spring game, and I wanted to talk about them anyways. Chase Smith and Avante Williams. How much of an impact do you guys see both of them making? I think Chase Smith is just, it kind of reminds me of like a modern day, like a NBA player, just in terms of like positionless basketball, because I feel like he can kind of move anywhere. He's a freak athlete. Can you guys kind of give some insight on him first, and then we can talk about Tay?
Chase Smith can probably play 4 different positions at the Power 5 level. He's that great of an athlete. Those are things you can't teach. His measurements, he's going to get on the field. Ultimately, it's where does Miami want to put him, right away to get on the field. That's what I'm curious about. Is he taking snaps right now at striker, I believe? Could be wrong, but, if he is, look, you got 2 other guys in front of you, Keontra Smith and Gilbert Frierson. Avante Williams, Manny Diaz has been praising. I would love to see him on the field. Just get him on wherever you want to put him. I hope we do get him on the field, but, it's that thing, are they going to play Gervin Hall in front of him, for example? How is he going to get on the field? So I think both of them will see playing time, but how much is the question for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see him as a stand-up D end, maybe in some packages. You have Jafari, maybe you have Chance on the other side with DeAndre. And if he is working at striker, he can definitely play a lot of different positions. So we'll see. I don't know if he's definitely not gonna probably be on the interior line ahead of Jared Harrison Hunt, or Jordan Miller for that matter, John Ford. But I could see him playing quite a few different positions, like Paul said. And as far as Avante, dude, I was talking to him on Instagram a few weeks ago, and we may have him on the show here in the future. Avante Williams, dude, just like Gervin Hall said today, that dude is an animal, and he's been an animal since high school. And you're talking the number 1 safety in the country 2 years ago. So put that with James Williams come June. And I asked this question of Kaniacs and Matty Ice a while back. Who are your starting safeties come midseason? I expect Bubba Bolden, but if you have to pick between Amari and of course Gervin Hall with a down year last year, I got James Williams and Avante Williams on the sideline. So this is an amazing problem to have.
No, it's a great problem, and that's the thing I go back to, is creating elite depth at positions. And you're seeing that, in the safeties room. When have we had this amount of depth? And we haven't even mentioned Keyshawn Washington or Brian Balaam as well. So that's a great problem to have. That's a problem where elite top 5 programs, top 10 programs have. So if we can do that all around across the boards at every position, hey, we might get the ball rolling in Coral Gables.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I lost you guys for a second. I got a couple more questions, you guys. This is more just about spring in general. I feel like it's not really, I bring this up every show. I feel like it's not a big enough storyline. Our defensive ends. We lost Jalen Phillips. We lost Quincy Roche. Obviously, Greg Rousseau sat out, but I mean, we still count him as a loss. How confident are you guys with these defensive ends? I know we got a transfer. I don't know if that's the same quality of what we're used to on the transfer market, but how confident are you guys with this position group? I'll start with Paul.
DeAndre Johnson is big question mark for me. Quentin Williams, he came on the show. And, I asked him, how's DeAndre Johnson doing? I'm thinking, this guy came from Tennessee. I mean, SEC program, Tennessee, they always recruit well, have great talent, just doesn't work out. And he's like, he's getting there. He's got to get under our conditioning program. Coach Simpson never quoted or, really talked about DeAndre Johnson, throughout this spring. And, he was playing outside linebacker, moved to defensive end, went back to outside linebacker. I'm curious how he'll play this upcoming season. I really am. He has the right coach mentoring him with Jess Simpson. If anyone's going to get the job done, it's going to be Coach Simpson. But I will say this, Jahvari Harvey, I love him. He's 4% body fat at defensive end. That's not normal. The guy is jacked. He's huge. He's waiting his turn, and I think this is his opportunity. So I think that's going to be Jahvari Harvey's going to lead the team in sacks, and I'll stand by it if I'm wrong, but that's my, kind of my prediction. But I think those will be your two starting defensive ends. But look out for Chance Williams. Everyone is praising him as well. So that's another defensive end to look out for. He's very quick, very fast.
Yeah, I love Jahvari. I love Jahvari Harvey, and I will agree with Paul. I think if we're talking about linemen, Jahvari Harvey will lead the team in sacks when it comes to those defensive line. I don't know who's going to get that second spot, whether it's DeAndre Johnson, but if you remember back to the bowl game last year, Cam Williams got a ton of run. So we'll see what happens with Chance. I love Chance ever since he was a high school All-American, so I have big hopes for Chance. But I think we might not know until deep into the summer who might be the second starting defensive end, and hopefully Jafari's on the opposite side.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have two questions left. Manny had said that last 3 weeks of spring ball or something like that is where we'll see position changes. And I think that's when he said he'll like reevaluate if we need to get anyone via transfer. What's a position group that you guys could see that he's looking at in that way for maybe like to acquire someone via transfer?
I got a
Paul
offensive line, off the bat. I think we're developing our first team offensive line. I think we have an idea who's going to fit that role, but second team offensive line, that's a big question. I really couldn't tell you. We switched so many positions. I couldn't even tell you who's our second team offensive line, to be honest. It's a very, very young group. So I can see a veteran offensive lineman, like the gentleman from UNLV that was across the message boards. I forgot where exactly. I think probably 24/7 Sports, to be honest. But, I think that's someone they may even take a look at. But offensive line, they'll definitely take a target there. I think that would be my first guess ultimately.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could see that too. Whether it's offensive line or you hear about the linebacker from USC, maybe he gets to play opposite of Corey Flagg. But when it comes to offensive line, I know that left guard position, whether it's going to be Ja'Clyde Clark or Jalen Rivers. This is a pretty deep offensive line, and I think when you look at who's behind him, whether it's John Campbell or whether you have Big Baby Seymour coming in, Ryan Rodriguez is going to get some run maybe on the second team. So there's players across the offensive line. DJ Scaife has more starts than any offensive lineman on Miami's team, and he might not even be starting. You got Navon Donaldson moving over to the right guard. So I think it's going to be linebacker, or like Paul said, it'll be a transfer offensive lineman.
Okay. Absolutely. So last question, and then I think Chris, you might have had a question or two. I know you got some of them in here too. What are your position battles that you're looking forward to watching during the rest of spring?
Well, someone's got to step up at the wide receiver position. Who's going to be, Mike Harley's going to be our veteran player. Who's going to be the number 2 and the number 3? Who's going to be our go-to guys after him? So that's one position. Like Chris stated, that left guard position, it's going to be Jalen Rivers or Ja'Clyde Clark. That's going to be very interesting. There's another one. Is it right tackle, I believe? Jared Williams and Scaife as well. But I think Jared Williams will win that one. But, and also, too, the quarterback room. Jake Garcia, he's putting up a fight. All eyes are on Tyler Van Dyke. But, hey, it seemed like stat-wise, Jake Garcia had the better stats. We saw like 20-second clips, obviously. But, hey, that's something to look out for. Who's the future quarterback at Miami? And I'll say this, the staff really likes Jake Garcia. Remember, 2 different offensive coordinators recruited him while his time at Miami. Dan Enos, when he came for a visit in the IPF, they did a workout. Then Rhett Lashley as well. They went full court press. Manny Diaz always believes in Jake Garcia, and I think the staff believes he's the future of this program as well. So, that's another position I'm looking at.
Yeah, for me, kind of going back to my top 5 spring takes when we talked a few weeks ago, it's who's going to be QB2. And, again, a year in the program, TVD, but then Jake Garcia coming in and has all the talent in the world. For me, I want to see who's going to be lined up at QB2 against Alabama. And then my second one would be, who do I think is going to start opposite corner of Tyreek Stevenson? Who's going to get the starting position? I mean, I know Corey Couch is a dog, minus those 3 pass interference penalties he got in the bowl game. But,
is it Chihuahua?
Is it Al Blades? Is it Chihuahua? That's right. Is it Al Blades? Is it Ivy? I would love to be watching the cornerback competition on Green Tree in the IPF.
100%. Absolutely. Hey, Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add or ask?
No. So I wedged him in, man. I got the 3 or 4. I wanted to shoot Paul's way off the offshoots.
Look at you, that chemistry already. Hey, Paul. So we just want to thank you for coming on, man. It's awesome. Always love talking ball with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate guys the opportunity, man. It was a lot of fun. I had a pleasure. The game was very creative. I've never seen anything like that on YouTube on a live show. That was very cool. So definitely,
we're still getting used to it, and let the people know too about your podcast too, man. Where can they find that again?
Yeah. Spotify or iTunes. Is it called Snitcher or Stitcher? I don't know. I keep fumbling with that one, but it's the Believe in the U. Check it out. If you guys want to listen, go for it. If not, whatever, move on. But my YouTube channel as well, The Scoop on the U, you can find me. So yeah, man, just grateful for the opportunity tonight. It's always great to talk Canes football with you guys. So thank you again.
Awesome, man.
Thanks, Paul.
Well,
thanks, dude.
Have a good night, man.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, that was great.
I love Paul, man. He's awesome. Yeah.
That was a good interview, man.
Guys,
that was chopping it up.
I know. I love it, man. Natural. We already had that. I should have known that you got your questions in like that. Come on, man. What am I doing? So I think it's time for our last segment. I'm going with this
blind. I'm sorry. I don't know if you. I can't hear anything, but are you ready for the Chris's Classified?
Let's do it, baby.
Let's do it.
All right, Chris. Let's go. What you got for us?
All right, guys. So over the last month, I have been able to develop a relationship with an inside source, either within the Miami program or very close to the Miami program. I'm not going to specify which one, but I had a great conversation with my inside source yesterday. It was almost an hour and a half long. So Chris's Classified Connection, brand new segment. We're not going to drop it every week, but once I get enough knowledge and enough tidbits to throw your way, I got 5 or 6 golden nuggets today. So first one right out of the gate. I know we didn't hear a lot of stuff when it came to the receivers out of the spring game, when it came to Mark Pope or D. Wiggins. I know Mark Pope got folded up like an accordion by Amari Carter on that video clip. But according to my inside source, D. Wiggins was out the last 2 weeks due to quarantine. And so he was just coming back from quarantine when it came to the spring game. So sluggish, struggled. So that's why we're not hearing D. Wiggins' name so far in the first 3 weeks of spring practice. And speaking of spring practice, Canes practicing today and tomorrow, and that'll be it for the week. They'll go off on Easter break, so no more Canes practice this week, according to my source, after tomorrow. And the second spring scrimmage, not the spring game, but the second spring scrimmage is going to be on April 10th. So that's a week prior to the spring game, which ends spring football. So we got April 10th for that second spring scrimmage. We talked about TVD and Jake Garcia, and who's going to get what and who's going to wedge themselves ahead. And according to my inside source, TVD knows the playbook. He's been in the program for a year. He's got the chops down. He's got the mental reps down. He studied the film. But according to my inside source, Jake Garcia is the more talented of the two. And that has been showing throughout what we've seen in spring football so far. And just like Paul alluded to, more completions, more yards. And everybody's talking about TVD because this is his time. But Jake Garcia is really, really showing out when it comes to these closed practices, close to the public. Another kind of tidbit, we talked about position changes. No position changes until the end of spring is what Manny said that he wouldn't maybe announce for 3 weeks or so. But I do know, according to my source, that Michael Parrott, who was the fullback last year, effective a couple weeks ago, he has switched to tight end. And I know we rarely use the fullback packages in Enos's offense, but now he's going to be as part of the tight end unit. So Will Mallory out, but you do have Dom Mammarelli. You got Elijah Arroyo, who's all world, and then Hodges. So now Michael Parrott's going to join that group. So we have a new tight end in the group in the mix. One of the things I wanted to touch on as part of this classified connection is I asked my source, who are the leaders? Who are the leaders of this football team on the offensive and the defensive side of the football? Derek King's out. He's on the sideline. So who's leading this team? Who are the alphas? Yeah. And no surprise that on the offense, it's Corey Gaynor and Mike Harley. They are the ones that are taking control. You knew Corey Gaynor would be like that on the offensive line, but Mike Harley definitely taking control of that room. So you have those two leaders on the offensive side of the ball. And for me, the defensive side was more so the surprise. And so Amari Carter, Zach McLeod, who's been in the program for quite some time now, position change, and DJ Ivey, according to my source. So those three have kind of taken over the locker room as far as leading the young bucks and really commanding the attention as kind of the alphas in that locker room. So Amari Carter, DJ Ivey, and Zach McLeod. And then what I want to finish on Chris's classified connection here is a couple names that we haven't heard from in a while. And according to my inside source, Al Blades. So Al Blades slowly making progress. He's not fully cleared yet and will not be back at any time this spring to be a part of spring football. So according to my source, for the first time, he put on cleats last Friday. That's the first time he's put on cleats this whole year. So watch the progress of Al Blades as he comes back from missing the second half of last year and the myocarditis diagnosis with the heart condition. So we'll see what happens. We're all pulling for Al Blades, and hopefully he's healthy. He's got his cardio up to play some football when it comes to fall camp. And then the final tidbit on a name that we talked about earlier was Green Tree All-Americans, Jeremiah Payton, killing it last summer on Green Tree and in the IPF. And then where were the catches? Where was the offensive production for Jeremiah Payton in the rotation this last year? So we haven't heard that name over the last 3 weeks. And according to my source, Jeremiah Payton's been working his way back. He's doing full sprints, but he's easing his way into the weight room. And the reason being, you're not going to see Jeremiah Payton at all in spring football either, according to my source, because right now he's 2 months post-op for knee surgery. So he's coming off of that, and you're not going to get to see any Jeremiah Payton for the next few weeks until the 17th when it ends. So both those guys working back, Jeremiah Payton working back along with Al Blades, and that's all I got for Chris's classified connection. So
that was a lot, man. And hey, I think too, the thing that people forget about Jeremiah Payton is like last year, man, he was the guy that was going to come on, he was burning the scout team. Yep. So hopefully he can get better, and we can see him out there on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's a freak. So pay attention to both of those. And until next time, until I get some juicy inside info from my source, that was Chris's classified connection.
Hey man, what a way to end the show, man. What a great first show. I'm super excited for everything we have planned. I know you guys are too, I can just tell from the group chat that we have going on. It's the most lit chat I've ever been a part of. Yeah. So I'm super excited to, continue this journey with you, Caniacs, and for you to be a part of this now too, Chris. It's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah, man. So just make sure everybody that's watching tonight, make sure you follow Caniacs83 on Twitter. It's Inside Out on Twitter for Matty Ice. And then I am 5X_national_champs on Instagram. Just crossed 8,500 followers. So come join the 5X fam. And just like Matty Ice said, we got some major guests coming up on the program. So
we got next week.
We got next week, just booked a couple days ago. We got Xavier Restrepo next week. We got Bubba Bolden 2 weeks after that. We got Mike Harley coming on after that. And then we have Lou Headley, Corey Flagg, and we have some other cats lined up. So this will be big. We're gonna start the summer also with Mike Redding. So Canes players on the team right now coming on to the Canes Call-In Show to chat football with us. So please stay tuned, man. We got some killer guests on the way.
Absolutely. We're more booked than Miami in the springtime. Let's do it. All right, guys. Great. Great first show. I'm excited to do this with you guys. Y'all ready for this journey or what?
Let's rock and roll it. What do you got, Kaniacs? Oh, maybe he's still on mute. He's still on mute.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Mute, bro.
He's still on mute. Well, let's do it one time and throw it up. For this Tuesday until next Tuesday, it's all about the U, baby. We'll see you.